TDS and TCS on goods. Section 206C1H and Section 194Q are in force quite some time now. However, let us relook on these two sections for better implementation in our day-to-day working life. Finance Act 2020 had introduced Section 206C1H, that is tax collected at source from sale of goods by a supplier, and Finance Act 2021 had introduced Section 194Q, that is TDS on purchases of goods by buyer. This being from seller is collecting the tax, so the compliance perspective is rests with the supplier, whereas this is deducted by the purchaser. Hence, the purchaser is responsible from all the compliance aspect for all the tax deducted at source. Now, let us go through each section in detail. Section 206C1H, which is applicable from 1st October 2020. This is collected by supplier, hence we have to see what are the checks supplier has to do before collecting the tax. Supplier, whether we have to check whether the supplier's turnover in the preceding financial year is exceeding 10 crore. See, here it is mentioned preceding financial year. Suppose, for example, we are evaluating whether a supplier is responsible to collect tax or not in financial year 2022-23. We are evaluating whether a supplier is responsible to collect tax or not under this section in financial year 2022-23. Then we have to check the turnover of the supplier for the preceding financial year. Preceding financial year means here in the example 2021-22, whether it is going beyond 10 crore. If it is going beyond 10 crore, then we have to check whether the buyer's turnover also, not only the supplier's turnover. If the supplier's turnover is exceeding 10 crore, then we have to check whether the buyer's turnover is exceeding 10 crore or not. In the same way, like how we have verified the seller's turnover in the preceding financial year 2021-22. Say for example, buyer's turnover is exceeding 10 crore, then 206C1H does not apply, because in this case 206C1H does not apply because the buyer is responsible to deduct tax, and hence supplier is not responsible to collect tax. Suppose if the buyer's turnover is not exceeding 10 crore, in case no, then 206C1H will apply. Okay. Suppose if the buyer's turnover is exceeding 10 crore, yes, 206C1H does not apply because the responsibility goes to the buyer to deduct tax and responsibility of the seller to collect tax does not arise. Okay. Suppose if the buyer's turnover is less than 10 crore, that is no here. Exceeding 10 crore, no, then 206C1H will apply. So supplier is responsible to collect tax and pay to the exchequer. Now, say for example, the buyer's turnover does not exceeding 10 crore, then supplier will collect tax. How much he will collect? He has to see whether the sales or received during the financial year. During the financial year means, during the financial year in our example is 2022-23 is exceeding 50 lakhs. If suppose in this financial year, if the sales or receipts is exceeding 50 lakhs, then it is the responsibility of the supplier to collect tax over and above 50 lakhs at the rate of 0.1% if the buyer gives PAN or Aadhaar number. If the buyer doesn't give PAN or Aadhaar number, then supplier has to collect TCS at the rate of 1% above 50 lakhs, not up to 50 lakhs. 50 lakhs is threshold limit. Above 50 lakhs, it has to be collected and paid to the exchequer. Now let us see section 194Q. 194Q, this is applicable from 1st July 2021. Now let us evaluate whether the purchaser is responsible to deduct TDS or not. Here also we have to check the purchaser turnover of the preceding financial year. like how we have checked supplier's turnover in section 206C1H. Similar way we have to check the purchaser turnover also, whether it is going beyond 10 crore in the preceding financial year or not. Suppose it is yes. If it is yes, then purchaser is responsible to deduct TDS. If you remember in my previous slide, I have told if the buyer's turnover is exceeding 10 crore, if it is yes, then does not apply. Because why here it is does not apply? Because 194Q applies if the turnover exceeds 10 crore. That is the reason 206C1H does not apply. Say for example now TDS is applicable now for this buyer. How much he will, on which amount he will deduct the TDS. Here also the threshold limit of 50 lakhs is applicable. Suppose in that particular financial year, that is in this particular financial year, if the purchases or payments, if the purchases or payments already crossed 50 lakhs, then the buyer is responsible to deduct TDS. At what rate? At 0.1%, provided the supplier had given the PAN or Aadhaar number. If supplier had not given the PAN or Aadhaar number, then it is 5% of the over and above 50 lakhs has to be deducted and paid to the exchequer. Okay. Suppose if the buyer's turnover does not exceed 10 crore, then 194Q does not apply because, again saying, because 206C1H will apply. See here, when the turnover of the buyer does not exceed 10 crore, then 206C1H will apply, and hence in this slide, 194Q does not apply. Okay. Now let us see 3 small examples to better understand the with numbers. In this screen, I had provided 3 scenarios. Let us go scenario by scenario. Turnover of seller exceeding 10 crore, turnover of buyer less than 10 crore. Okay. See, if you see in this slide, turnover of seller exceeding 1 crore, yes. Turnover of buyer does not exceeding, no. So 206C1H will apply. Okay. So supplier is responsible to collect the TCS. Okay. Who is responsible to collect the TCS is the supplier. Okay. Whether it has to be deduction or collection. So here, because the turnover of the buyer does not exceed 10 crore, TCS will apply. So responsibility lies with the supplier or seller. Already during the financial year, like how we said, 1 crore transactions is done. That means more than 50 lakhs is done. So how much he will collect TCS is 1 crore minus 0.5, that is on 50 lakhs he will collect 0.1%. So going forward he will be collecting TCS because already he has crossed 1 crore sales or receipts during the financial year. Okay, and at 0.1% it is presumed that the buyer had provided the PAN or Aadhaar number. Okay, at the time of collection over 50 lakhs, this way he has to collect the TCS and remit to the department. Coming to scenario 2, turnover supplier is seller's turnover is less than 10 crore. Seller's turnover is less than 10 crore, but buyer's turnover is more than 10 crore. See, if buyer's turnover is more than 10 crores, TDS is applicable. TDS 194Q prevails over 206C1H. Okay, that you have to remember. 194Q prevails over 206C1H. So, because the turnover of the buyer is exceeding 10 crore, buyer is responsible to deduct the TDS on how much amount? As we said, purchases or payments exceeding 50 lakhs. Purchases gone beyond 50 lakhs, that is 4 crores. On 3.5 crore, he will collect 0.1%. Presuming the supplier had given PAN or Aadhaar number under section 194Q. Okay, this is like any other TDS, this is to be deducted whichever is earlier, booking of bill or payment whichever is earlier over and above 50 lakhs, it has to be deducted and remitted to the department. Coming to scenario 3, where the turnover of supplier and buyer is exceeding 10 crores, I said once the turnover of the buyer exceeds 10 crore, the responsibility of buyer to deduct TDS prevails over the responsibility over collecting the TCS by the supplier. Okay. Once the TDS is applicable, then TDS is applicable. Okay. TDS 194Q prevails over section 206C 1C 1H, and hence 0.1% of the purchases during the period over and above 50 lakhs, that is 4.5 crore, at the rate of 0.1% will be collected under section 194Q and it will be remitted. Okay, these three scenarios will explain the earlier two flow charts and about the section 206C, 1H and 194Q. Hope it is clear. Thank you.